right, so this is up north of Bangkok, and you can just see all of these fields. They just harvested the rice, so you can see a little bit of the burnt earth underneath it and stuff like this. We are on our way to the Chor Ha Phayak gym. Chor Ha Phayak actually has quite a number of fighters. They used to have a lot, and since COVID they have fewer, but it's a very, very big gym. And for the past maybe 2 years or a year and a half, Wang Chinoy has been one of the trainers up at the Chor Ha Phayak gym. And when he changed his location and he told me that he was going to be teaching out of this gym, I wasn't entirely sure whether he was there all the time or whether it was something that's like, this is where I can take privates, but he was linking himself to a man named Bangsen. So anytime I talked to him or anytime I was setting up a private with Wang Chinoy, he was always coupling himself with Bangsen. So I didn't really know who Bangsen was. I figured out that he was a former boxer, like Western style boxing. But there's not a lot of information about him online. I'd never met him before. I wasn't coming across any news or information about him as I do other fighters, just in reading Thai and following different Thai news sites and kind of archive sites and things like this. So when we were going to come up and film with Wang Chinoy again, he insisted that we film with Bangsen as well, which we wanted to do. We had already said we wanted to film with Bangsen, but we were on this day that we were driving up to see him, we thought we were filming with Wang Chinoy first, and then we would film with Bangsen after, and Wang Chinoy completely deferred. He was like, no, you film with Bangsen first, and then I'll take you in the afternoon. But we just followed his lead. Like, we were like, okay, well, if he's gonna be deferring to Bangsen, we'll just kind of follow lead with this. Maybe it's like an age thing. Bangsen is a little bit older than Wang Chinoy. But when we finally met him, when we finally started filming with him, he is just incredible. Talking to him, I can see where some of this comes from. He was a student of Ajahn Sarat, who's in the Muay Thai Library, when he became a Western boxer, but he had actually started out in Muay Thai. He's from Khon Kaen, which is the same area that Karahat is from, and actually is kind of like a center point in Asan for femur fighters. The only non-femur fighter I can think of that comes from Khon Kaen is Cherry, who's a Muay Khao. And when Bangsen was a Muay Thai fighter, he came down into Bangkok and he won 11 fights in a row by KO. And his 11th KO was against Cherry. And Won Sung Chai saw this and was like, okay, we're gonna take you into boxing now. So he started an amateur boxing career, and he was successful in that, and he was gonna go to the 1988 Olympics, but he couldn't make the weight that they wanted him to be at. This red, white, and blue sign that we're passing right here, this is the sign to Ha Phayak. Kevin blew past it because he wasn't paying attention. So we're gonna turn around. This red, white, and blue sign is the Chor Ha Phayak gym sign. So the Muay Thai of Bangsen is just absolutely beautiful. His boxing is really gorgeous. He was both amateur and professional boxer. He was a professional Muay Thai fighter, and he can totally vacillate between the two in a really beautiful way. It is not like a light switch where he's doing one or the other. He integrates them in a really beautiful way, which Chachai Sasakun, who also was WBC world champion in boxing and was an amazing Muay Thai fighter, he also integrates the two really well. So if you're someone who is unsure how boxing fits with Muay Thai, or someone who somehow thinks that boxing doesn't fit with Muay Thai, this is a very good session for you to see how those integrate. On this little back alley, this leads up to the gym itself. The gym is really big, the property is really big. There's lots of dogs back here, and Kevin and I saw a monitor lizard that was like the size of a dog. It was really amazing. They have massive dogs at the gym. They have like a Rottweiler and this pit bull that definitely outweighs me. I think it's probably like, a 70-kilo pit bull or something. But it's really beautiful out here. And if you train at Chor Ha Phayak, they said they are welcoming to Westerners, but you can't really leave. So if you stay at the gym, it's not a kind of like, and I go out and adventure kind of thing. If you stay off-site, there's like a kind of hotel a little bit a ways away, so you would need a motorbike. Kevin and I stayed at an Airbnb that was like on a rice field, but I don't think you could do that training there all the time. If you went for a short time, you could do that. And this is a Nai Kanam Tom statue at the front here. Hey, What you guys are about to see is a very cool Muay Thai Library session with Bangsen Tor Kotsan. He is one of these under-the-radar fighters that I had never heard of him. I didn't come across him in really any of the things that I was seeing when I come across other fighters and other news, and he was very close with Wang Shanoi. So when we went up to film with Wang Shanoi was like, you got to film with Bangsen too, which we were very happy to do. But I had no idea when we started filming with him who I was really encountering, and he's such an incredible man. He has incredibly beautiful Muay. He's Muay Mat. He's a boxer. He was Muay Mat even when he was a Muay Thai fighter. This is how he's getting all of his knockouts. But his Muay Thai is just absolutely beautiful and incredible, and he comes off as very femur, except he takes up space in this way that Mat fighters really have at their heart, which is just that they stand their ground and they kind of track you down. He has a hardness to him that's really incredible because everything he does is actually quite soft. So you'll hear me talking about this in the voiceover, but when he's interrupting my guard, when he's moving me out of the way, parrying me, or like pinning my arm so that he can elbow me or something, the actual touch that he has in these movements that should feel very firm or hard or intimidating is very light and very soft. And when I asked him about it, he's just like, I don't want to use power where I don't have to, which is incredible because it's so not what it feels like. It's crazy to have something feel like it's barely touching you. It's so, so light and still be devastatingly powerful and hard and sharp and kind of scary. He's a very gentle man. He's very sweet. He knows a great deal about the technique that he's teaching, and he's very good at showing it. So some of the things that I want to highlight as things that you can look forward to learning in this Muay Thai Library session is something that is not completely unique to Bangsen, but is expressed in a very unique way through Bangsen, which is this very, very centered weapon selection that he has. So nothing he does is wide. He doesn't do wide punches. He doesn't do wide kicks. He does hooks. He does kicks. He does all these things that can be wide, but when he does it, there is no roundness to anything he does. Everything is very straight down the middle, and he does it by this like incredible rotation of his torso that does not look like a big rotation of his torso, so it's actually very hard to track. Another thing that he teaches is how to watch an opponent and where to watch an opponent so that you can't really be fooled by them. So this is something that Karahat taught me, and with Karahat I called it reading, which is basically shorthand for being able to see when someone's weight is being transferred or when their body starts to rotate or create a shape. If someone's on one leg, you know what they're able to do from that position, and so you kind of don't have to think about it. You have these ready-made answers to someone being in that position. Bangsen watches the center of the body rather than the jaw or the chest or in the eyes, which some of our other entries into the Muay Thai Library have really emphasized. When he watches the center of the body, he says you can't fake from there. So a fake kick and a real kick don't look the same at the center of the body. But on top of this, when you watch the center like this, if someone's going to fake the kick so that they can punch you, the weight coming forward, the way you answer that is the same, whether it's actually the kick or actually the punch, it doesn't matter. And so oftentimes when I'm trying to throw something at him in this Muay Thai Library session, just by watching my weight transfer, by watching the center of my body, he has an answer that beats me to the punch. So he can actually counter me before my weapon fully comes out, because it doesn't matter what's coming out, he sees the movement first, which is really, really beautiful. And his centeredness makes him incredibly hard to read. When I'm watching him and trying to see what he's going to be throwing, because he's so still at the center of his body and he doesn't have these big rotational movements, I really have no idea what's going to be coming at me, and it's very, very hard to track. It's very effective. He has a very beautiful emphasis on how to have your defense and your guard and your protection while you're countering. So he is what you would call a counter fighter, Jangwa Song, which means you're the second timing, second rhythm, which means you want your opponent to go first and then you counter them. The way that he does this, he's blocking or parrying and countering at almost the simultaneous moment. There's a little bit of a drag on his counter because you have to move the hand out of the way first, but it feels as though it's very simultaneous. And so his approach to offense and defense being basically on the same beat is really beautiful, and I love the way that he teaches that in this Muay Thai Library session. He also, as a boxer, has absolutely incredible footwork. He's so light on his feet. He bounces in this amazing way. He's moving and moving, and his weapons always come out of his movements, which he talks about in this session, and how important that is. His footwork is not exclusive to boxing. You don't have to be a boxer in order to have that footwork. And anytime we ask him a question about the difference between boxing and Muay Thai, he always has this kind of like very dismissive, like you can totally do them in both of them. You can have this footwork in Muay Thai. It's actually very important to keep moving in Muay Thai also, and all these different things. So his footwork is especially beautiful. Bringing it into Muay Thai is actually really wonderful in the way that his weapons come out of that movement. And again, it makes you very hard to track, very hard to guard against. And in any kind of style, regardless of what style you find yourself in Muay Thai, this kind of footwork helps you kind of stay fluid and make you harder to track and harder to see, so you don't have so many sharp pausing moments when you snap into focus and someone can counter you, or you snap into focus and someone can track you. This allows you to stay much more fluid, which is very beautiful for every single kind of Muay Thai, and it's especially beautiful in his Muay Thai because he's perfected it so well over the many, many years. So I'm very happy to be adding Bangsen to the Muay Thai library. I'm a huge fan of his. I very, very much enjoy his Muay and what he had to teach, and I look forward to actually working with him again in the future and just kind of seeing where that can go, because he's such a lovely man and his Muay is just so astounding. So thank you everyone who makes this kind of thing possible. Thank you very much to Wang Chinoy for being with Bangsen and allowing us this opportunity, and for very few of our patrons who actually have gotten to work with Bangsen already and recommended him as well. So if you have worked with Bangsen yourself and you get to watch this Muay Thai library session, I look forward to hearing from you about what your experiences were as well, working inside his style. All right, so this is Bangsen. This is the Chor Hapayak gym, and he just gets right into it. Something that I'm going to talk about a lot in this voiceover, because I geek out about it and it's really beautiful, is look at how still and centered Bangsen is all the time. He's very, very defended, and all of his strikes come out of this like very center line. He throws nothing wide. So he's starting straight out with these leg kicks that actually remind me a little bit of something that Diesel Noi taught me that he had stolen from Wichanoi, who is a shorter fighter. Everyone's short compared to Diesel Noi, but Wichanoi was a little bit short. So you can see how we're touching guards with each other. So this is the distance that you're at. And then as you're at punching range, these leg kicks just kind of whip out. And I'm asking, do you use the top of your foot? And Bangsen's like, yes. But the important part that he's emphasizing is that you're actually kicking the joint. So you can kick the joint of the knee on either side, and then you can also go up onto like the IT band. But he's making a point about kicking the actual joint. I don't think that's a foul in Muay Thai. But if you're training with people in your gym, don't actually kick hard on their joint. Practice that somehow without kicking the joint. So this I really like. Look at how his knee comes straight up as though it's going to be a knee, and then it turns into a kick. It's like a chop kick. So he's showing me how I need to protect myself and not overturn on that kick. See how he's protecting himself with his arm out, but he's also not rotating his shoulders. As Westerners, we hear all the time, turn over on your kick, turn over on your kick. You don't always turn over your hip on your kick. Look at how his shoulders don't turn an amazing amount, and yet he does get this like hip pivot on his kick.
Stay square.
So he's saying that as I'm kneeing, I can get punched in the face. So my guard is a really, really important part of throwing anything from that distance. So you close up your jaw with your shoulders, and you go across the person and grab the side of their neck so that you can pull them into your knee, but you can also control their ability to strike you. So see how that knee and that elbow just kind of flow together? something that you guys can't feel and maybe can't even see, but I felt, is anytime Bangsen is interrupting my guard, he is so light. He has designated tension, but he is never ripping things down. He's very, very light. So even this, he's putting just the weight of his own arm on me, so that when he makes this explosive elbow over the top, I can't feel that he's about to do that. There's no pulling, there's no ripping down. It's very, very light. He just kind of
He dropped his weight in the...
it's very gentle. He just drops his weight down and then throws that elbow.
Oh, look at his.
This is something that Karahat and Yodkun Pon have in common, is that they float on top of you so that you can't feel when those elbows are coming. They do not rip the arm down or rip the guard down, which some other trainers do, some other fighters do. And they have reasons for doing that. But this very light, floaty thing is, you have no idea that elbow's coming.
Oh, oh.
ไม่ต้องปิดใช่ไหม
เราต้องหนี
เว
บ
ลามือที่นี่แล้วก็
ผมหนีบแล้วเนี่ย
See how he knees my leg first and then the elbow comes?
ที่นี่
So he's locking my arm in place, but he's not pinning it with a great deal of
he pins it
power or
but it's
pressure
not
or anything.
tight at all. Like he can just come over at any second.
It feels as though, when he's pinning my arm, it feels as though I can just pull my arm back really easily. But then as I start to move, he throws that elbow or he throws that knee to my leg to distract me, and then the elbow.
เตะไม่ต้องเตะกว้างถ้าเตะกว้าง
So he just said, "Mai dong te guang." Guang means wide. So like, don't kick round. Again, his knee is coming up, and then he's just kind of like jamming
Yeah,
into you.
you're turning.
ถ้ากว้างมันเขาบักได้ถ้าอยู่
So he's saying if you kick wide, it's very easy to block. It's hard to block this like knee coming straight up.
ไม่ต้อง
He can put his knee right in front of him the way that you would block a teep or something with your knee, but you have to see it.
His knee comes straight
And it's
up.
very hard to see this kick coming.
ใช่
But don't turn. Don't turn away.
ใช่
Try
Chest
move
forward.
turning. You can
Yeah,
see the
your
pivot
chest
on my
go-
standing
put
foot
your
is
chest
like
towards him.
massive.
Your
His
chest
doesn't
towards
do
him.
that.
Yeah, more.
And my shoulders are rotating a great deal. If you watch his torso and his upper body, his shoulders do not do a big rotation
เขา
ever.
ไม่บังเตะแนบ
So he's saying if he doesn't have time to block, he's actually just going to kind of block with his elbow and take it, and then he's going to counter.
ปึ๊บ
In Thai, they call this rap. Rap literally means to accept or to take. And so when you take a strike, you're basically eating that strike in order to serve the next one. So you're not like, I'm not going to block, but you didn't block in time. And so you just kind of use this instead and you counter.
Oh.
ผมเตะซินบี้ฮุก
Just pivoting over the side a little bit and landing a hook on me. So Bangsen is southpaw. So we're doing a lot of mixed stance, and we'll talk about this in a little bit.
โดรัดตะวันโตรอครูสู้ก่อนเป็นจังหวะสองไหม
So I'm saying if you like to take the kick and then answer it, you have to be jangwa song. This means like you are the second rhythm. That's being a counter fighter.
ปึ๊บ
And he is absolutely like, he does not go first. He loves making them go first and then countering and punishing. It's a big thing in very, very high level Muay Thai fighters that I've worked with. A lot of them don't like to go first. It's very different from the West. We're always like, be first, be busy, go first.
ขานี่เสียขาหน้าปึ๊บเวลาแก้จะทำยังไงซินบี้ทำยังไงเตะขา
So I'm kicking his leg, and he's like, what do you do to solve someone kicking your leg? I just like low kick destroyered it.
Boy.
So he just gets his leg out of the way and then head kicks me. Head kicks me when I think that I'm going to kick him in the leg.
เตะคอเลยขึ้นเลย
My consciousness is in no way ready for a head kick.
เอ้ย
And he just barely moves it out of the way. And by bringing it behind him, he now has power on it when he brings it up.
แล้วก็พวกไม่ไปแค่นี้
So when Karahat throws his head goes down to the side. I'm trying to figure out how Bangsen is getting it so high without moving his head at all. It's a little bit like how John Patong does it.
ไม่ต้อง
John Patong was like the ultimate head kicker.
นิดหน่อยเอาซินบี้เอา
Need noi is what he's saying. This means like a little bit.
วิธี
So he's like, just move a little bit. It's not a big movement.
เตะขาปึ๊บเตะปึ๊บนี่เตะขาปั๊บแกล้งเก็บเลยคิดวิ่งเข้ามาเตะ
So this is his other trick, is you take a leg kick and you pretend it hurts. So then nobody's going to think. They're just going to come and kick you again with the same thing that hurt them. Like, that's the smart thing to do. but he's feigning that pain so that he can counter you when you come to kick him again. He's baiting you.
แทงเลยมันก็ไม่กล้าติ
ทำให้
He's using what he's doing as his counter when he knows that you're going to come and leg kick him again is he's bringing his knee up and hitting into the fleshy part of the inside of your thigh, which is a very good block and is very, very painful.
อาการใช่ไหม
กันนิดหน่อยปั๊บ
Look at how he's constantly touching my guard. He's always catching me. Like as I come in, he's always feeling exactly where I am before he does something.
ใช่
เขาจะเตะสูง
มีเตะสูง
ที่มีเตะสูงเราเตะชัดเลย
โอ้
So he's making a point here about us being mixed stance. I'm orthodox and he's southpaw. So as I'm coming to kick him, he says to go kick the standing leg, which is something that Berklerk does incredibly well.
ถ้าเป็นมวยซ้าย
Berklerk is not southpaw, so he was doing this from same stance, but he has to go after a particular leg.
เราต้องออกตีหน้าก่อนซิมบี้เราตีถ้าซิมบี้เป็นมวยขวาใช่ไหมล่ะผมเป็นมวยซ้าย
So he's switching my stance. First I was going southpaw to do something, but he's trying to make a point.
มวยซ้ายจะทำยังไงรู้ไหม
So he's telling me as an orthodox fighter, me Sylvie, an orthodox fighter, the way that I solve a southpaw fighter
ถ้า
is everything is my right side.
ซิมบี้ออกซ้ายไม่ได้ซิมบี้ออกซ้ายมาเตะซ้าย
So he's saying if I'm orthodox Sylvie and I'm fighting against a southpaw fighter, if I try to throw my front side all the time, I'm just hitting his front side.
เตะขาเลยเตะขาซ้ายขึ้น
So
ได้ไหม
because you have the same advantage in a mixed stance, so his left side, which is his power side, is into my open side all day also. What he's saying is that I throw my power side with this kick, and then I create a bar with my shin to stop him from being able to counter.
ไปแก้มวยซ้ายมวยซ้ายถ้ามวยซ้าย
So
แก้
this
ม
is
วย
an
ขวา
especially good move in mixed
ถีบ
stance
ซ้าย
situations.
ถีบซ้าย
เดินไม่ได้
คือเราจะมีเทคนิคคือว่าเราแก้มวยขวามวยซ้าย
ค่ะ
ครับเดินเข้ามาเตะปั๊บปั๊บเตะมาปั๊บเตะมาแล้วถีบซ้ายคือ
So see how he's waiting for me to keep kicking, and then he throws his teep. So he's basically timing me to interrupt me with that teep.
ใช้ทีหลังตลอดใช้ขวาตลอดคือเราออกซ้ายไม่ได้คือเราออก
So he's saying if I'm orthodox and I'm fighting southpaw, throw my right side all the time, and then this like leg bar can stop the opponent from countering you back.
ยกเข่าขึ้น
ยกมากกว่าย
กขึ้นสูง
เอ้ย
ยกขึ้นสูง
แบบแค่
So he's saying if I'm going to use my front teep, my front leg teep, I have to bring my leg up really high first.
ยิบนี่ก็ได้
So you can't do kind of like a long teep because a long teep is easy to catch, especially in mixed stance. Using your front side to kind of catch someone's front side when you're front to front is very easy. So he wants like a faster, stabby one.
อยู่ด้วยกันซ้อมด้วยกัน
We're talking about Samart's teep, and he's like, Samart's good at that teep. And we're like, yeah, Samart is known for this teep. And he just kind of threw as a little factoid that he and Samart used to train together at the Bangsaen gym. Bangsaen gym was known for its heavy-handed fighters. So like Samran Sak, who's in the Muay Thai Library, is from the Bangsaen gym. And when they were boxers, Samart was a Western boxer, and
ยกเลย
Bangsen was a Western boxer. They trained at the Bangsaen gym together.
ยกเราเกาะอย่างเงี้ย
โอ้ย
So again, this is when I'm using my front side against a southpaw fighter, it's very easy to catch my teep, and he's lifting it. I'm asking him how exactly he's trapping it, because he's not using his hands at all. He basically, it's like an alligator catch when you catch a frisbee,
ทีนี้บิด
but he's just using
ไม่
his
ได้มัน
forearm.
นี่
อ่า
ไม่ได้
He's telling me to just twist my knee and slip my foot out, which he does very easily.
ใช่
But he's saying you have to do it very quickly. If they get a good grip on it, you can't slip out. So you have to do it like the moment you feel that they've caught it.
ทำได้เราต้องแก้ได้
ใช่
ทิปปึ๊กหมุนชึกแล้วก็แข็งคือ
Not fast enough.
ต้องหมุนข้อเยอะเราข้อแข็ง
ใช่
เวลาเกาะมา
So he's saying you have to be very strong for Muay Thai. You have to do a lot of pull-ups. And with that, he immediately goes into the clinch. Look at how relaxed he is. Again, it looks like he's putting a lot of power on me, he is never using a lot of power. He's not even using a lot of tension a lot of the times. He has very soft, designated tension that makes him incredibly hard to deal with.
ใช่
He's so relaxed.
ใช่แล้วก็ท่า
So see how he felt when I grabbed his neck? He felt exactly where my tension was, and he could pop my
ได้แล้ว
elbow over.
ไปยังไง
So because he knocked out Cherry, I'm asking him, how did you get out of Cherry's lock? Because Cherry's lock is really intense. He does actually what Cherry taught in terms of how Cherry gets out of his own lock, which is that you go behind the armpit more or less, and you just rotate around.
ล็อกได้
If I can't get my head in fast enough, he can kind of chop into my jaw and my neck and push me off.
เวลาล็อกซินดี้ต้องล็อกให้ได้ล็อกล็อกต้องเกาะเราตั้งไว้
So I'm putting as good a lock on him as I can. He stands up really straight, which forces me onto my toes, and then he stuck his leg into my thigh so that he could twist me. So I lost balance a little bit because he was putting pressure into my thigh. Look at his right leg when he does that. It's a little bit like Karaha has a throw like that, but it just like,
ตั้ง
he just pops me.
ล็อกล็อกอันนี้เรา
See how he just closes off his neck so I can't get a really good grip on him? And then I have a lot of tension because I'm trying to grab him, like I'm using strength.
ไม่เข่งเกินไปไม่ใช่แรงแต่ว่าเข่ง
He doesn't use power.
พอดีพอดี
So I'm using power trying to grab him, and he's just snuffing me by closing off his neck and then finding angles that my tension is creating weaknesses and pushes me towards them. Come here, come here. So this is him doing what I should
What
be
is that?
doing. See how he fainted
is
that
that?
little
If you're gonna
knee
lock,
to the
get your
thigh?
head
ผมไป
Under.
สอนที่ออสเตรเลีย
So this is a lot like Tonadet. Tonadet and Satan Wonglek both put their heads under here.
คือเราจะล็อกเขา
You like put it in the Adam's apple almost, or like right in the trachea. It chokes you. It's really,
ไม่หาย
it really
ไม่หาย
sucks.
ก็ทำที่อื่นได้ไหมคะ
นะครับ
ถ้า
So I'm asking if you can't get under the neck, can you get like into the jaw?
ทัวร์มาอยู่
He's like, sure.
ข้างๆได้ไหม
ได้
But he likes getting into the throat.
Sylvie, find his position though, so you can find.
ตรง
This is a little bit hard for me because when you're working with an
See if you
ajahn,
can
when you're
feel
working
it.
with someone
Tell
who's
him to teach
older,
you.
ที่นี่ใช่ไหม
being polite and deferential often means not choking them. So I'm trying to get my head into the
that it?
position
That's
where
not
it's
it.
supposed to be, but not be forceful about it. So I'm asking what his arms are doing because I can't see when he's doing it. So basically the gloves will run into each other because he's wrist to wrist. So if someone tries to split his hands, the gloves will kind of interlock with each other.
Can you see what he's doing?
And then he comes around to the side of me so that he can keep spinning around and I don't have any power to break away.
How about you bend your knees, maybe?
I don't want to go too deep in his neck
I understand, but if you don't feel it, you can never do it. Maybe bend your knees.
คือพวกขาตรง
So I'm going like hand to wrist. He goes wrist to wrist. And then my feet are actually too close to him. When you see him do it, he brings his feet back and his head is just straight down.
There's no tension in his actual arms. Like he's not squeezing, but he sets up the.
So here he'll show how he's not
Have him do it
squeezing.
again.
It's actually just the frame that he builds around me.
Oh.
So because his
Oh,
elbows
he's-
go to my shoulders like
If I
this,
try to come
if I
around,
try to come
his
around
elbow's in
him,
the way of my
I
shoulder.
can't come
His head is
around.
completely flat though.
But look at how his head is just so flat down.
Because he's in like the Adam's apple.
And his legs were back farther, like his hip went back.
ประเทศได้เอาลูกนี้ไปสอนซินวี่จะโอ้อาจารย์ซินวี่
So Bangsen just called me Ajahn Sylvie, saying that I can go and teach this all around Thailand because I've learned from all of these legends. This is a very, very sweet thing for a man like this to say to me because he knows
คือ
so
วิธีแก้
much.
มวยเข่า
ใช่
ซินวี่เข้ามา
So now he's saying, this is how you solve a Muay Thai fighter. Do you see how he just catches me and then I knew immediately that he could elbow me on that other side? He just framed out. He just caught me.
ใช่
ไม่กว้างมากไม่เน้น
I'm
มาก
geeking out a little bit because I can see how calm and like relaxed he is when he's waiting.
คือเราซ้อมมาแล้วเราจะมวย
I said this about Samart when we were filming with Samart, that he looks like he's just waiting for a bus. Like his feet are actually really close together. Bangsen's not quite like that, but he is so relaxed waiting for you to come in, and then he's just impossible to pass his guard.
10 วิก้าวเข้าลึกๆเวลาเตะ
When he starts jumping around, when he starts moving his feet, like with boxing, he's so light on his feet.
ครับ
He's like 57 years old.
นั่นแหละมันแรงเขามันจะเจ็บกว่าแล้วเตะอย่างนี้
ใช่ที่ง่าย
แล้วเตะง่าย
So he's saying that doesn't hurt, the way he just kind of like flicked me with his shin.
คือถ้าถีบเหมือนกัน
Felt like, like this is not how you kick, using so much power.
ถีบมา
So you're basically using power for very little effect. He wants you to just chop, like the leg just comes up and chops into the opponent.
มือกระตกแล้วก็โดนต่อยเขาถีบปั๊บ
So this is why you want to be Jangwa Song. This is why you want to be the second time as a counter fighter, is that you can basically, anything someone strikes you with, you just get it out of the way and then counter. And you're almost guaranteed to land it. He was showing there how not to like melt into being,
ๆเพราะว่าตัวนี้เป็นมีด
what's the
บ่อย
word, parried.
เข้ามา
So I can feel how close his fight game is. He's a puncher, he's Muay Mat. So he likes to be at this very close range. Look at how he's just interrupting. He's just like, get that out of the way for everything. They don't stay far away from each other. It's like he's swatting a fly away from him.
ปันลูกนี้เราต่อย
ๆ
ปันลูกนี้เราต่อ
It's the same thing. Like I go first, Sylvie goes first, and he just moves it out of the way and counters.
สินพี่ทำอะไรได้สินพี่ก้าวมา
So I'm countering okay. I mean, not countering. I'm batting away okay. I'm parrying okay, but I don't have to
ฟันเลย
counter,
ฟันเลย
which should just come at the same time. Like that. There we go.
ตั้ง
นั่นแหละเราใช้มือนี้อย่าฟันอย่าฟัน
มันเป็น
So he's saying we just use our hands like this to get that out of the way, and then you can have your counter on top of it, like almost simultaneous.
นั่นแหละเราไม่หนักมัน
So see how there's a little bit of a
แต่ว่า
chon?
ผมใช้จังหวะ
We like crash into each other a little bit.
โอ้ย
Ugh.
he's so relaxed
Look at his legs when he throws this punch.
สบายมาก
I can feel how he's like barely touching me. He just like moves me out of the way, but he has no like grip on
ส
anything.
วย
โอ้
Oh, his legs when he punches are so pretty. I'm gonna geek out on this a little bit, but he'll start showing me.
มีอาวุธไม่ถึงไม่มีอะไร
So the way that the angle he's coming at me, my weapon, if I fire my weapon, he's not even in front of me anymore. So even if I do manage to clip him, I have to come so far to even reach him. There's not gonna be any power on it by the time I get to him.
เวลาต่อย
I just can't. He's
ถ้า
just
เราบัง
like.
ชิ้นพี่จะบังยังไงผมต่อย
So he's asking me, how do I block, right? This is how I block. I get my elbows in the way. I use a little bit of a long guard.
เราจะทำแล้ว
He's like, that's okay, but you have to be closer than this. If you're closer than this, see how he's like resting his hand on top of his head, and he's actually using his elbows. Oh,
ว้าวดัชนี
that was fast.
โตไม่ได้อาวุธ
บาง
ไม่
ที
ออก
บางทีชิ้นพี่ป่องอย่างนี้
So the way that I'm blocking, because I'm so far away, I can't really counter. Do is what you call it in Thai. It means to continue. So I can block, but I have no continuity after. I have nothing after it. So basically, when I block, I need to come closer so that there's this immediate counter. That the counter is almost simultaneous with the block.
ใช่
So just putting his hand on top of his head like that, he can block anything, but he's got that spike elbow without any additional effort, really.
ต่อยปุ๊บ
He doesn't have to come out of his guard to strike. I think that's maybe the important part, is he doesn't have to come out of guard to counter.
อันตรายมาก
The counter is while he's in guard, it's while he's protected.
ต่อยกว้างไม่มีประโยชน์ถ้าเขาไม่เมาถ้าเมาแล้วทุบได้ถ้าต่อยเราต้องต่อยแคบ
บ้า
ๆเราต่อยแคบแคบ
เวลาพูดแขกแค่
So he's saying to punch tight. Cat means like close range. Look at how he never ever goes wide. Everything comes right out of his ribs.
เราใช้เราจะใช้มวยไทยกับมวยสากลบวกกัน
ใช่
So he's saying in Muay Thai and Muay Sagon, that's international Western boxing, it's the same. What you do with your feet is the same. Oh, look at that twist.
ใช่
บอดี้
He's so centered. Like everything just comes like this massive centered rotation.
ปังปังใช่ไหม
Chut Chai and General Tanwa
Oh.
Kom are both like this.
So beautiful.
He's like, there's no point to punching wide. So I'm like, how do you do a hook?
Boom. In the against the
เขา
wall.
Yeah.
เขาจะ
It's like
ใช้
against
มวย
the wall.
มวยฝรั่งมวยสากลกับมวยไทยผสมกัน
So he just called boxing Muay Farang, which means like Western
เตะ
เตะ
Western fighting.
แนบเลย
He just
So this is
guards
again
with
what
his
he was saying. If
elbow.
you don't have time to block, you just shove your elbow in the way of what you're
Oh.
receiving,
Slide.
and then counter
ไม่
immediately.
ต้องจับ
ไม่ต้องจับปล่อยมัน
ไม่
เตะเลย
ประโยชน์
So you don't have to catch the kick. You don't have to do any of these things. If you're fighting in kickboxing where you're like not allowed to catch the kick, you just put your elbow in the way,
ยัดเลย
move your body so that you're not taking the full impact, and counter immediately.
ขามันลงเขาไม่ได้กั้นหายใจ
นี่มวนซ้ำรันสัก
So this is something that Wang Chinoy taught me that he said he had stolen from Samran Sak,
ปั๊บ
this Muang Sarin. And that's basically as someone's leg is coming down from kneeing you or kicking you, you punch them in the stomach while they're still on one leg.
ข้าม
They can't block.
ลงกำลังลง
ใช่
ไหม
กำลัง
So I'm saying not when their leg touches, but as it's on the way down.
You wait for the leg to come down, and you can either kick the leg as it's coming down, or you can hit the body while it's like on its way, but they can't protect themselves. This is what Wang Chinoy said.
You can't even
Samran Sak
flex
did to
when
him.
your like
He
leg is
stole
coming
it.
down.
Oh.
เหมือนกันปั๊บ
Oh, before the leg comes. Yeah.
เหมือนเราเตะเหมือนกัน
ขาเดียว
ถ้าเราเตะขาเดียวเหมือนกันเตะปั๊บเราไม่ต้องเตะแรง
You can't defend yourself and your muscle is like not ready to take that when your leg is coming down.
ใช่แล้วก็ถ้ารู้สึกคิดว่าทำฉลาดแล้วก็เตะโยก
เราเตะปั๊บ
So I'm saying I would think I'm very clever if I like kick him and then float my block and he just teeps me or punches me in the stomach. Like you're not free by floating the block if the opponent knows what to do after that.
ถ้าชกแบบนี้
He's saying Muay Thai has so many techniques.
ใช่
เวลาฝึกซ้อมสำหรับสาย
So I'm
ตา
saying in order to fight the way that Bangsen fights, what I'm noting about him is that you have to have very good eyes. You have to have good reaction.
ผมเห็นแล้ว
ที่นี่
And so I'm like, how do you train this? Like, how do you train having good eyes and being able to see everything? And his answer was, well, you have to look.
Oh.
It's like,
Oh. So much defense.
that is actually the answer.
He says he looks here
But see how he's constantly watching. He says he watches the center of the body.
เราดูออกปั๊บดูเห็นแล้ว
So by watching the center of the body,
He doesn't even-
you know where
he doesn't
someone's
even
going because you can't fake
start
at the
before me,
center.
but he beats me to everything
Because he's economical.
อาวุธซิมลีเริ่มก่อน
ครับ
แต่ว่าอาจารย์เห็นแล้วก็
ใช่เห็นคือเขาขยับ
แต่ว่าทำไมอาจารย์เร็วกว่า
So he's saying he sees my body rotate.
ฉันเริ่มก่อน
Because he sees my body rotate, because I'm starting my movement, he can react to that, and his strike, his counter to me, actually hits me before
ถ้า
my
พวก
strike.
เก่งๆถ้าพวกเก่งๆออกก่อน ถ้าพวกเก่งๆออกก่อน
This is what Karhat started teaching me when we did the intensive, and we call it reading. So Bangsen is reading my body by watching at the center and seeing when I'm moving, and he can react to just the movement rather than reacting to the
ไม่ต้อง
strike.
ทำเป็นแบบชุดไม่ต้องทำบังบังบังบังบัง
ไม่ต้องทำยืนไม่ใช่
So I'm saying you don't have to do like a whole combo. He's like, no, why would you do that? Like, you just knock someone out with like one punch. See how it's just like two things? It's just a little like annoyance.
His head
It doesn't
kick
have to
is
be like a
so
big long thing.
beautiful.
It's being concise and precise with the big
ทำไปเรื่อยๆ
movement.
คือว่าเราไม่ต้องรีบไปต่อยเขา
He's laughing at me. He's like, you don't have to do a bunch of
เอ
stuff.
อไม่ต้องรีบไม่ต้องรีบ
ไม่ต้องรีบ
คนไปต่อย
don't rush
ต่อยหมดแรง
มันเวลารีดดูมันเป็น
He's saying people who rush and they throw too many strikes, they're just wasting energy.
ก็ตีขาไว้ตีขาไว้ทิ้งที่เข้ามา
So he's basically just annoying me. Like, I'm trying to reach him, and he's just going to interrupt and annoy me.
นี่เอามาก็ตีขา
And he's acting like, just get off of me. Like, stop trying. Look how relaxed he is.
คอยปัด
He sees
มือนี่
everything.
คอยปัดมือนี่เหมือน
ถ้าโอเคถ้า
He's saying your hands parry everything. They're very relaxed, and they just move everything out of the way.
แต่ว่าหมัด
ล็อก
He still doesn't.
So I'm like, what happens if I fake my kick and come to punch you? And he's not fooled at all because he's watching the center of my body. So it doesn't matter whether I'm actually kicking or actually punching. A teep will solve both of those things because the right side of my body is coming.
A fake kick here does not look the same as a real kick here. มันมองตาหลอกได้
So what I was explaining to Kevin is that a real kick and a fake kick look different when you're looking at the center of the body. But watching the eyes, which is something that some people say to do, like Shmuk Pet is all about watching the eyes. Nam Kabun was the first one who made me watch eyes. You can't see what people are doing, but you can kind of see maybe their intentions and you can kind of like psychologically freak them out. But Bangsen sees everything by watching the center. So he's basically just juggling me with these teeps. So do you see how he like hit my shoulder as he was parrying me? He's like, keep your shoulder up to defend yourself. So as I'm throwing my teep, I have to anticipate that something might go wrong and I have to have my guard ready for that. So I reference Ajahn Surat about keeping the guard in the face. And he's like, oh, Ajahn Surat was my teacher, which I didn't know until just this moment talking about him. But he has the same shape.
He was a student of Ajahn Surat.
แต่ก่อนผมเป็นรองแชมป์โลกอาจารย์สุรัตน์ผมชกมวยทั้งคนอาจารย์สุรัตน์เทรนเนอร์ผม
ใช่
แต่เก่งตรงนี้
So here he's showing Ajahn Surat like it's like looking at Ajahn Surat when he does it.
แกเหนื่อยผมหมัดผมหมัด
So we're talking a little bit about Ajahn Surat and like what a nightmare he is because he's so scary.
Oh, he
He
was a
says, I've never
student.
been so tired in my life.
ถามว่าลูกศิษย์อาจารย์คนไหนหมัดหนักที่สุดที่ต่อยเป้าไปถามอาจารย์สุรัตน์นะ
ใช่
เออ
โหดมากกลัวมากอาจารย์
Hot means like cruel, like he's a very intense teacher.
วันนี้ไม่เข้าค่ายนะ ติดลมเดี๋ยวเข้ามาเมาเหล้า
So he's saying that he used to call in and be like, oh, Ajahn, I can't come to training today. I fell down.
แคบ
Like, actually, he just couldn't get up.
เวลาอาจารย์ทำมันเป็นแบบ
ตีขึ้นไปนะ
So see how I'm doing this chop kick, but my rotation is ridiculous. Like I can only do one, and then I'm kind of in a position I can't deal with. He does this chop kick, and he's ready to do something after it because he's not rotating his shoulders as much as I am.
ปึ๊บปึ๊บ
See?
It's because he.
If you can't
controlled the
burn
center.
something, if you can't do 10 of
You
something,
are- why?
that's
Why?
not the
You
right
control the
calibration.
center.
Like you should be able to repeat things. You're rotating too much if you can only do
You
one of
control everything
something.
in the
เพราะว่า
center.
กว้างมันจะนิดหน่อยเฮ้ย
See how
Look at his
centered
chest.
everything
His
is
chest
that he
doesn't
does?
turn. Everything square.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't turn his chest.
เราเบียดได้ขานิดเดียวขานิดเดียว
Your chest goes like this.
So he's saying turn the leg, but don't turn
no,
your
you
body.
go like this. You fly over here.
ก็ติ
Kevin's making fun of what I'm doing. It was funny, but I can't remember what it is. It's probably exactly what I'm
มัน
doing.
จะสะ
I
ดุ้ง
have to
มันจะเก็บมันจะสะดุ้งปึ๊บปึ๊บนะสะดุ้งไหม
So when I was learning the knee from Chumok Pet, which rises up like this, it was very pendulum-like. So it's the standing leg, the standing foot rises up. I shouldn't be pivoting so hard on the standing leg, but it does need to rise up.
ฮุกก่อนฮุกหลอกก่อน
ใช่
So he's saying punch first, and then you can do that little like. See how his standing leg does not, he doesn't pivot on it?
ปึ๊บนั่นแหละปึ๊บปึ๊บปึ๊บนั่นแหละ
It's just a chop.
มือซ้ายเตะซ้ายเตะขวาแล้วถีบขวาเลยฮุกก่อน
So because he's southpaw, he's saying now I need to kick right, teep right, like everything right.
ขวาตลอด
ซึ่งไม่ต้องถอยใช่ไหม
I'm asking, do I need to go backwards? And he started laughing at me.
ต้องหาจังหวะที่จะ
ถ้าอาจารย์เตะ
He's like, it depends on your timing and rhythm.
ปึ๊บ
He does everything in a
He didn't have to go backwards.
Yeah.
He has like
Everything
the
is just-
shortest
ถ้า
teeth.
เราไม่ถอยเราก็
He just bent his leg
Like a
out.
drill.
เตะมาเตะปั๊บถีบงอขาพุช
See how tight? Like he could do that in a phone booth.
ปั๊บ
แคบได้
แคบหมุนออกไป
เฮ้ย
หมุนออกไป
So moon is very important in Thai. This is to like pivot out to the side. So in order to stay really close to somebody, When you're right in front of him, you can do these chop kicks and stuff, but you also need to be able to just step out to the side.
He knows every opening.
บางทีเราก็ต้องหลอกให้เขาเตะก่อนเตะก่อนเตะปั๊บนะเด้อ
He didn't hit hard, and it still just sucks.
โอ้ย
See how he just stays completely centered? I have no idea what's coming.
เจ็บแล้วก็คู่ต่อสู้จะเสียเอง
คือว่า
So because it hurts, I'm gonna kill my own posture myself. He doesn't really have to do it. I'm gonna start kind of like fading and having agan, which is symptoms. It's like showing the effects of what's happening. Here he's showing where you can kick. So it's the inside and outside of the knee joint and the IT band.
All the points that he kicks actually on the joint,
โอ้
on the
Man
knee,
can sit in.
and then there's the line.
Sen,
on the outside.
sen in Thai is a
But he's
line.
saying that the more
So
you kick it,
it has
the more it just
nerves.
makes
He's
you
basically you
heavy.
kick where there are nerves and it'll cause problems in the leg. See how he just barely pivots off? Even when I pivot like really deep, which is unnecessary. It's like way too big of a motion.
ลูกนี้คฤหัสถ์เก่งลูกนี้
So he's saying Karahat's good at this. Karahat basically intercepts the guard and very softly just bypasses it. See how he switches his feet first, like he walks into that elbow.
ออกหน้านี่แต่เขาก้าวเขาหลัง
So he steps forward with his back leg and then throws the elbow that's now his back leg,
It's Karahat's technique.
yeah but his style
because even though it's farther away, it has more power.
สลับฟันใช่ไหม
สลับฟันปลา
Ugh. He just parried my arm barely out of the way and then caught with the left arm. This I call climbing the ladder, because that's what it feels like to me, is how you like go from rung to rung on a ladder, is you parry on one side and then your arm just extends out to the neck.
ตัวอาจารย์เขาบอกมันกุรี
I keep complimenting him or commenting about how light his touch
แด
is.
งมากตัวแดง
He's like, there's no reason to use power, it'll make you tired.
ตัวนี้เดียว
The reason Yo Kun Pan says not to like jerk on people's guard is he's like, they know you're there, they know what you're gonna do, and they can resist you or go away. So basically by staying really light and floating, you're like, they don't know what's coming. Ajahn Bangsen is just like, I don't wanna get tired. So everything's very light. But he's not patty caking, like he's not doing like little tiny points. What he does hurts. Like there's power in it, but he's not like using strength. See how close he stays to my foot? And he just barely gets outside of my front arm. He's not like going deep to the side. He almost moves me across my own body more than he steps outside. See that?
ใช่มันไม่มีอาวุธไม่มีอะไร
ไม่มีอะไรแล้ว
And there's nothing in front of me. He's to the side of me, so I actually have no weapons now to do anything to him. All I can do is like go further into this position that he's put me in and hope I can do some kind of like spinning elbow or something. He just put himself into the position instead of making me pull him to the side.
มีทั้งสองใช่ไหมอันนี้ปัดก่อนอันนี้
So I'm asking about using both hands, this ladder climbing thing that I was just saying.
นั่นแหละ
Nalet, that means like, yes, that's good.
เขาให้เวลาทำนิดหน่อยมีเวลาเยอะทำอะไรก็ได้
So I'm saying when you do this like very little pivot, you have tons of time to throw your counter.
That's
You did what I did with this little like fanatical leap to the side, and now you're like behind the beat.
the way he
You have
does it,
nothing.
like this he has
With this
so much
very
time.
little step, you have tons of time to throw like 3 or 4 things. I'm more slick in coming to the side here, but I'm still going too deep.
ที่นี่ไปสอนไหนก็ได้ลูกนี้เอาไปสอนฝรั่งได้
ใช่มันนิดหน่อย
นิดหน่อย
ใช่
Just a little bit.
ทีบเต็ม
So there, it was really hard for me to figure out how to teep from that angle.
ทีม
I don't know why I didn't just move my feet to an angle where it's more comfortable. My foot is broken, so he caught my teep and he tried to like kind of lift it, and my standing foot, I wasn't aware of it at the time, but my standing foot is broken. So when I like exaggeratedly fall over to the side, it's because my foot's broken. So see how delicate his hands are? And he just finds these different positions so that when I come to do anything, he has this answer. He has this very soft, like I could do anything from anywhere, because he doesn't have tension keeping him from picking a certain position. Here, he found his ways to his arms to the inside. They're both outside. He's going to find his way inside, and then he can push me when I come to knee. See how he has both his hands on my shoulders now?
Yeah.
He can elbow from there. He can shove me off.
ข้างในดีกว่า
แล้วอยู่ข้างในก็อยู่มืออย่างนี้
So I'm asking, it's better to be on the inside.
ยกขาเดียวลง
Inside is better to like grip the head and do everything, but he's not using it to engage in the clinch. He's doing it to get rid of the clinch. So he's getting a dominant position and then using it to off balance you and shove you off because he doesn't want to clinch.
He just finds the position immediately
Yeah.
มีหลายอย่าง
มีหลายอย่างอย่างนี้เกาะไม้อย่างนี้
So what I just said is there are so many things. Like he can basically do, see how he put his leg to the outside of my leg there again? He can do whatever he wants to do because anywhere he finds himself, he knows what's possible from that position.
ใช่ตัวนี้
So here he's just snuffing my knees.
ไม่ให้
นี่
คะแน
เรา
น
ยังไม่ได้คะแนน
So I'm saying now, like back in the golden age and before, you could lock the waist, and it was actually kind of a big point to like throw people that way. People don't lock the waist anymore now because it doesn't offer points. Like just the way people watch Muay Thai has changed, and they don't give points
your
for
toes.
locking the waist anymore.
ทำหนึ่งทำสองทำเป็นหลอก
So he's basically like slowly folding his hands over and then chopping into my neck, and then he can interrupt my feet because look at how I've come up on my toes. He choked me.
ทำให้เป็นร่องเข้าแบบนี้
So see how he's like using the cross of his hands to choke me?
คือมันเย็บเหมือนกันเย็บมันน่าจะดีมันน่าจะเราจะใช้มันหน้าเย็บ
So he's talking about how good the jab is because it's your front side, so it's very easy to use a lot. You can spam with a jab, you can spam with your front side really easily. But look at how he jabs, it comes up.
เราพูด
What's interesting about his
สามารถ
jab is that his elbow is right underneath his fist, and everything is like a piston coming up.
พลังมาจากไหน
So he actually bends his wrist a little bit down, like a little snake head, and the power is coming from his
Look at
hip.
that, baby.
ไหล่
No, look at his front foot.
ไหล่ด้วย
See how his weight transfers onto his front foot when he throws that?
โอ้เร็วด้วย
It's very fast, and look at how light on his feet he is.
Baby, yeah, learn.
Ugh.
Come on, learn.
So again, because my foot's broken, my little fancy feet is like not happening. It's very, very hard for me to do. So trying to be light on my feet. But you can see even how my elbows flare out. Even though I'm punching well, my elbows have this little bit of a flare. His have absolutely none.
Oh, look how crouched she is.
ปั๊บเราจะใช้จังหวะสะโพก
So he's saying the power comes from the hip,
Oh, so
and the
pretty.
elbow stays right by the rib and comes up like a piston.
Look how crouched she
การ
is.
ต่ำขึ้นสูง
น้ำหนักหน้านิดหน่อยใช่ไหม
I'm asking whether his weight is on his front foot, and it's not. It's in the middle. It's like 50-50. But his weight shifts to the front leg as he's landing that
ผมจะทำอย่างนี้เลย
jab.
มันช้าอย่างนี้ย
So that thing he just did with his arm, he's saying it's
It's very
punches are slow when they're wide. So you get your fist right above your elbow and you point your fist towards the person.
It's not like a hammer it's like forward
See how it's like a little snake?
it's a little bit
Cobra.
ใช่ไหมหมูแต่ว่า
He's very
ต
fast.
รงนี้เหมือนเดิม
ไม่ได้ใช้สั่น
Look, use like the whole flat part.
So he doesn't punch actually like rolling his knuckles. He punches on the flat part.
มันลองเย็บดูว่า
But he's like,
มันจะเข้าไหม
it moves, right? So like as the elbow comes up like this, you're gonna be kind of like knocking your elbows
คือบางที
against someone without like moving your wrist.
โอ้เร็วกว่าเยอะ
อ่าทางตรงทางโค้ง
So he's talking about how that jab is so fast
Can
because
you
it's
find
so
that
straight.
that he won't do? Yeah. So for the library, baby.
So Kevin's
for you.
very upset that I can't do this footwork that Bangsen is doing, and I can't even attempt it. Neither of us knew my foot was broken, and I was trying very hard to not complain about it. So I literally can't even try, but I'm trying to try. But you can see how the transfer onto the front foot is how you get this like distance, and it's how you get the power out of the hip.
เชื่อไหมซิลวี่
แต่ว่าช้า
So Bangsen is saying you will get this footwork if you do it for a year. He's like, it took me more than a year. But if you just do it every day, this lightness and this footwork and this feeling of this transfer will come.
อาจารย์รู้สึกตรงไหนรู้สึกขา
I'm asking him, where do you feel this? Like, where do you feel this punch? And it's actually his back leg is what he locates it as. So that means he's springing off of the back leg. The back leg is what
And the
kind
back
of
foot.
propels everything.
pushes off and then his front leg actually
Pivot, like
Pivot.
stops.
So look at his feet.
Oi.
ขาสวยมากขาเบา
His knees are very bent. Look at him go. See how there's not a lot of like pivoting on the foot, but there's flexibility in the feet.
คือสเต็ปเราจะได้คือผมต่อยไปนี่ผมต่อยคุณไปคุณสเต็ปออกไปสเต็ปออกไปคุณออกข้างนิดเดียวคือคุณต่อยขวาผมมา
So I parried, and he's like, "You're stepping too much. Like you just barely get out of the way, and then hit them while their arm is still extended." So while my punch is still trying to hit where he just was, he's already countering me.
ผมต่อยคุณออกไปนี่หน่อย
ๆมากกันนะ
So it's a small step. Like I'm taking way too much of a like big old electric slide to the side. It's just a little movement out of the way.
Can you ask him?
อาจารย์สุรัตน์เก่งมากลูกนี้
เก่งมาก
He's saying Ajahn Surat was really, really good at
He
this.
said Ajahn Surat's good at that
Oh.
นี่อาจารย์สุรัตน์เก่งมากลูกนี้
It's little like
ต่อยตรงๆ
slips.
เลยปึ๊บปึ๊บอ่า
ถ้าอาจารย์ไปก่อน
ครับ
ทำตรงๆยังไง
So I'm asking him, how does he punch so straight when his body has already moved to the side? So he pivoted to the side, but he's still punching very straight.
จะมีกว้างเกินนะ
เพราะ
So I was like going too wide. Again, with Bangsen, nothing is wide. No strikes are
อื
wide.
มนี่มันจะได้
Everything comes from the core.
สเต็ปตรงนี้
ใช่
อ่า
That bend in his legs is so pretty. Look at how relaxed.
Beautiful.
And it's got that like,
Is this from
you
boxing?
kind of like float into the punch.
มวยสากล
มวยไทย
So Kevin asks, is this from boxing? And Bangsen's like, it's the same with boxing and Muay Thai. You can do it in both.
ชกกับสไตล์อะไรยากที่สุด
I asked him what style was the hardest for him.
มวยเข่ามวยเตะ
มวยเข่า
He's like, Muay
ผม
Khao.
เป็นมวยหมัด
He's like, because I'm a puncher.
มันยากเกินไปแล้ว
ผมเดินมวยเข่าจับที่โอ้โห
So he's saying it was really hard because he turns. So he wants to come forward. And Muay Khao's like, awesome. And they just catch him. And now you're too close and you have no power when you're trying to punch really close and he's just getting knees.
He said Muay Khao because once you get caught,
They grab the arm
can't.
too. Yeah.
แล้วก็มวยฝีมือข้าง
He said the second hardest is femur because you have to chase them so much. He's going to imitate himself.
รำคาญมาก
This is him. This is him trying to catch a femur fighter. It looks like he's got a gun and he's like moving through a field or something.
มวยหมัด
He's like,
แล้วก็
Chasing down a femur.
เราจะสอนให้มวยเราจะฉลาดเราเป็นมวยหมัดแต่เราจะสอนวิชัยที่ให้มวยให้ลูกศิษย์เราจะฉลาด
ใช่
ใช่ไหมนะ
ใช่อาจารย์ฉลาด
he said that he was a Muay Mat, so he's a puncher. But he's like, but for me, I always try to make my students smart, which means he thinks he was not a very smart fighter. He feels to me like a very, like he has the eyes, saita, like he's so relaxed. To me, I don't know how he fought when he was a fighter, but now he's a very, very smart
In Muay Thai, upright. So is this
teacher.
aesthetic problem or
มี
something?
ขอที่เดียวที่ไม่ม้วนกันเวลาสกลมวยไทย
So there's this point that doesn't match between Muay Thai and boxing, which is that boxing is very crouched and Muay Thai is very
รวม
upright.
กันแล้วเอารวมกันได้
Bangsen is like, this is no problem. It depends on your mood. He uses arom. Arom is like, it depends on how you feel. So basically, you can be really upright or you can go really low depending on distance and what you're trying to do within a single fight. Like within a single round, you can kind of vacillate between the two.
He's saying that it's not a big difference, that in Muay Thai you can kind of crouch too,
เห็นไหม
as long as you keep your feet
เห็น
moving,
ไหม
because then you can
ตอน
counter.
นี้K1 มวยK1เห็นไหมต่อยปุ๊บปุ๊บ
Thai.
K1 ถ้าหยุดถ้าช้าโดนหมัดเหมือนมวยสากล
Thai.
K1 เหมือนกัน
So he's saying, if you look at like K1 kickboxing, you see people punch and then they move.
ที่ขาเรา
Anytime your legs don't move, when your legs stop moving, that's when you get nailed with
So
something.
he's saying it's the same thing in Muay Thai with boxing, is that if your legs get still, bang, you're out. So in K1, you see people move and then they like
เพราะว่า
move their legs,
ฝรั่ง
but when their legs die, bang.
เพราะฝรั่งเอาK1มาผสมกับมวยไทยแล้ว ต่อไปก็ไม่มีศอกมวยไทยก็จะตายแน่นอน
He seems to be under the impression that Muay Thai loses to K1.
K1 เป็นแบบมั่ว
And I'm saying K1's a little bit mua compared to Muay Thai. I think they bring their fighters to fight on K1 from Chor Hapayak Gym.
ตัวไม่สวยไม่สวยแต่
So I'm saying that when I crouch like this, it's not beautiful. Like it doesn't look beautiful when I do like a
Tell him the Muay
boxer's
Thai
crouch.
thing, baby.
And so Kevin wants me to explain to him what I mean by not
จั
beautiful.
งหวัดไม่มีตัว
Get into Sylvie's insecurities here. So I've been fighting in Thailand for a really long time. I'm Muay Khao. I know Muay Khao is not considered like a beautiful form of Muay Thai. I get that. But even when I go and I fight and I like win,
Look
I
at
hear
his
these
baby.
Thais be like my soy. So I want my Muay, even though I'm not femur or whatever, I want my Muay to be beautiful. And so I'm trying to ask him, how do you make these things beautiful while being your root is basically against what Muay Thai finds beautiful, like this kind of crouched thing. And so he's basically like, make the strikes beautiful. Like when the strikes are beautiful, the whole thing is beautiful. It's not about the root so much. His root's pretty beautiful, so I don't know that he knows what I mean. Because the way that he just relaxes and is like a wall that you can't get past.
เวลาเด็กขาเป็นแบบเกี้ยเหมือนกันใช่ไหมแบบปัง
So see how he keeps his guard in my face when he's throwing a leg kick also.
ไม่ต้องเก่ง
I don't gang. Gang means like tight. He's like, you don't have to be tense. Everything's very like
เก็บนั้น
relaxed and whippy.
นี่ตรงนี้
มีกว่า7 บาทใช่ไหม
ยกฟัน
I can feel how much that would hurt. He's like barely even touching me, and I'm like, that's good, thanks.
It's that muscle on the front. Bang.
He's hitting that front muscle. It's like the quad is just getting sliced in half by the shin.
ปล่อยธรรมชาติปล่อยเบา
He's so relaxed, and he's using zero power, and it just sucks. Like that would slow you down in a fight quickly.
ซินวี่อยากได้อะไรซินวี่บอกครูบอกอาจารย์
ใต้ footwork
อยากได้ฟุตเวิร์กซินวี่ต้องขา
So we start talking about footwork, but his phone is ringing, so he has to go deal with that. So here we go, working on footwork. Look at how
ที่เรา
light he
เรา
is.
ขยับแล้วเตะ
So it looks a little bit like when you're bouncing on a tire, but just like way lighter.
ขยับ
And then he's making this point about how strikes come out of movements. So you move, and the strikes come out. He's like, when you stop moving, the strikes don't come.
อ้าวตีไปขยับไป
I'm the opposite. I stop moving so that I can throw a strike, which is not how that's supposed to go. So you just have to shadow a lot. You have to do a lot of like move, and have the strikes come out of your movement.
ศอกมีปู
So he had me throw a bunch of elbows, and then he got inspired. He starts talking about this thing that in Thailand they have
มี
licensing.
ศอกเวลาศอก
So
มีศอก
there's
ศอก
A, B, C licenses. He's C license, which is like the lowest one. It means that he's like only been doing the like first
ทำ
category.
มันสั้น
And they teach you from Baran to kind of like all the Mae Mai Muay Thai is what it's called. It means all the movements of Muay Thai. Mae Mai Muay Thai. And so he's talking about these elbows.
มัน
แล้ว
แด
ก็
ง
แบบ
And he's making a point about how your hands have to be open. So you don't make fists when you throw elbows because it makes them very tight and short.
ไม่มี
They have to, your hands have to be open so that you can have these loose, long,
I can
beautiful
feel
elbows.
something bad's coming, but I never know exactly what it's gonna
ซิม
be.
บี้ส่งอันนี้
His
ให้
head kicks me out of nothing.
อย่าเอาลายครูไปตก
His kick is amazing.
It's like
นี่
John Batong.
นี่ลูกตีลังกาเตะอะได้มาอย่างไหนรู้ไหมที่แสนชัยทำ
So he's like, you know this move that Sanchai does? This like cartwheel kick?
แต่ก่อน
I'm like, yeah,
อา
yeah.
จารย์สุรัตน์
And he's like,
รณรงค์
Rotnarong used to do this cartwheel kick. That's where Sanchai got it. It was from Rotnarong, who trained at Ajahn Surat's gym, which is called Dejrat. He's the one who taught Rotnarong in Buriram before he came down to Dejrat's gym.
From where is he from?
รณรงค์ไปสอนแสนชัย
So he said Rotnarong taught Sanchai, and he taught Rotnarong. So I'm like, are you from Buriram? Because he said that he taught Rotnarong in Buriram. Buriram is where Rotnarong's from. And he said that no, his wife is from Buriram. He's from Konkan.
ที่ขอนแก่น
He's from Cocaine.
ครับแต่ว่า
ฉะเจนไม่ต้องซุป
So all these guys from Konkan have this little saying. It's Chatjen Maidong Sup, which means like, oh, it's obvious you don't have to check.
แล้วก็มาทำ
He did not react at all to when I said that, so I don't know if I like mispronounced it or if it's only funny when Karahat says it. I don't know.
เขาก็มาให้สอนอยู่สอนจอเล็กแล้วก็ไปสอนอยู่สิงคโปร์ไปออสเตรเลียไปสิงคโปร์
But so he's taught all over the world. He used to teach in Singapore. He would go for 2 months and come back for 2 months, go for 2 months and come back. But this gym in Singapore doesn't exist anymore that he used to teach at. He taught in France. I asked him if he ever encountered Hood Pad Noi when he was in France, but their ages are very different. So he was like, no, it was a different place. It was after. But
หมดสัญญา
he and Rotnarong were both at Dejrat Gym.
footwork.
เก้า
And so him having taught Rotnarong at the Dejrat Gym totally makes sense.
Oh.
This is one of these fancy kind of like Baran style elbows. You can totally do this in the ring,
คงกันไม่ได้
but it's very hard to guard against it because what he's doing is he's putting his hand inside my guard and then stepping outside my stance and throwing an elbow inside. So kind of. What he does is way past me.
Look how
So
far
he
it
moves my hand out of the way
Relaxed he is when he
goes.
does
Look
it.
how far.
and then just takes this like
And the leg is
giant
straight.
ขวาเหมือนกัน
John Cleese step past me and rolls his elbow into my face. So this is a little bit like that ladder climbing thing in terms of like the hands going over each other.
ขาทำออกเห็นไหมปัง
ใช่
But he puts his hand on my shoulder.
เดินมาเดินมา
Look how relaxed he
Oh
is.
my God.
Look how
So
far
far
past
beyond
me
you.
he goes. Because he steps so far past me, that elbow is gonna like
Legs straight.
chop through my
What
head.
he's doing is he has the hand goes inside and the foot goes outside.
เซมเซมเซมเซมแม่ไม้มวยไทย
So he's referencing an old Baran move that has like a name that's not legal anymore. So he's going to show me this old move that he can't remember the name of that's like a choking takedown. But you flip someone over your hip, so it's not legal in sport Muay Thai. This is old Muay Thai, Memai Muay Thai. So this counts as in the whole category of like Muay Thai moves. But you can't do it in sport Muay Thai because you can't throw people over your hip.
Because of the
อ๋อ
judo.
เพราะว่าสปอร์ตใช่ไหม
สะโพกแต่ว่า
So because you can't do this anymore, they changed it into an
He
elbow.
adjusts it.
Oh.
ปัง
So same move,
Hello,
but
hello.
instead of a takedown, it's an elbow. He's gonna do it slow.
Oh.
Ugh,
And if he waits for me to punch first, I just like give him
Oh.
yeah.
open.
When I extend my arm, I'm like, please do this thing. Oh, I did the wrong arm, but he can still go around me.
He's very
อันตรายมาก
beautiful.
อันตรายมากใช่
สโลว์ครับ
So see how I'm like reaching really far with my arm? He doesn't do that. He steps. When he steps, there we go. I felt that one. Because the arm and the leg go at the same
ที่
time.
แก้ทำไงอ้าวเข้ามา
So he's like, how do you solve
จะ
this?
แก้
That's the solve.
The solve is to knock someone off balance with your butt.
ทิปเนี่ย
So you can get into that spinning back elbow from the teeth, which is pretty.
Oh, that's crazy.
But he knocked me off balance with his butt. Like it's
That's the Taewin thing, but actually
it's funny, but it actually works.
เวลาคนไป เตะขาทำไมใช่ไหม
You can also block leg kicks with your butt.
เราบิดเราบิดนิดเดียว
My crew does this. It actually hurts my leg when he blocks with his butt.
นิดเดียวบิดนิดเดียวนิดเดียว
ใช่
So here's a bit of low kick destroyer. So he's
ช้า
bashing up my shins by blocking my low kicks and then changes it to a teep.
ได้นะ
So like if I decide I'm going to be like really tough and just keep kicking through it, I just get teeped instead.
ๆที่เขา
ใช่ใช่
Look at how utterly relaxed he is.
เช่นการชกเป็นแบบ
He's-
สามารถชกกับนำผล
So there's this fight that's Samart versus Nampon, and Nampon is a knee fighter, and Nampon is throwing all these knees, and Samart just keeps putting his shins and his knees into Nampon's groin. It must have hurt so bad because all the power is coming from Nampon. So he's basically like grinding his groin into Samart's shins.
น้ำกระบวนเป็นแบบมาจากนงคีเป็นแบบนี้
So Namkabon has this nongki bounce, which is this footwork that's a little bit like what
เวลาซิมี่ทำ
Bangsen is doing.
แต่ว่าเวลาอาวุธออกซิมี่ดู
So I'm saying I can do the bounce, but then when my weapons want to come out, I have to stop in order to throw them. And he's like, no, 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 no.
ไม่ต้องเต้นสูง
You have to not throw
ยึก
a weapon unless you're already moving, like it comes out of the movement.
เราจะโหมตัวเราจะทิ้งเป็นตัวโอ้มา
He's like, you throw your body into it. It's the same thing of if you're like revving up and then you're gonna jump.
ช้ามาก
The jump comes out of the rev up. You don't rev and then stop and then jump. You throw your body into the strike. He didn't teach me that solve.
ต้องมาเรียนบ่อย
Although I did that in one of my fights. You just catch a person as they're trying to do a backwards
ๆ
elbow.
ทำยังไงเปิดดูจะทำยังไงอาจารย์ทำยังไง
ใช่
ถามอาจารย์ได้
ก็ฟุกทรงบ่อยๆไม่ใช่ครั้งเดียว
So he can teach me something, but you're not necessarily going to be able to do it immediately. Like you have to train things. Like that's the whole beauty of an art is that you can't do them immediately. You have to like practice it, get the feeling of it, commit it to memory, and then commit it to feeling. I'm
Can you see what
trying.
he's doing?
He's like a fortress.
How is he controlling you?
So anytime I strike him, as I'm coming back into my stance, he interrupts me. Like he hits my leg or he punishes me, which makes me, without even thinking about it, not want to throw another strike because I keep getting punished every time I throw a strike.
เรา
Ugh.
อย่าไปเรื่อย
Oh.
ๆเบา
He taught me at the beginning that if someone kicks you, you show a gun and you kind of come back, and then when they come to kick you again, that's when you do your like
Oh, head
switch or
kick.
whatever. I tried to do it and he just kicked me again.
ๆขาเก็บนั่น
So that was showing me. That was showing me what I just described.
พยายามทำด้วยอาจารย์มาช่วย
I tried to do it, but he didn't fall for it. He didn't believe me. See how he's just totally
นี่ลมเลย
unbothered by anything that I'm doing. So when you catch someone's teep, you lift it. You just lift it straight up.
อันตรายมาก
You like that one?
ครั้งเดียว
Antalai mak means like very dangerous. Antalai is dangerous.
คนไทยไม่กล้าทำแต่ฝรั่งเก่งฝรั่งกล้าท
He's saying that Thais are not brave enough to try these fancy moves in fights, but that Farang are willing to do it.
ำคนไทย
They give bonuses
เขาไม่กล้าทำ
at Lumpini and Rajadamner, and if you do like these old Muay Thai movements, like they call it crocodile whip's tail, which you've seen Samart do in demonstrations. It's where you like miss a kick and come around and kick someone in the head. Spinning back elbows, jumping knees, these things are bonuses at these big stadia.
So deep.
But as he says, Thais are not brave enough to do it, but Westerners will. The reason Thais are not brave enough to do it is that Thais are kind of like constrained by the culture that they're in and being able to perform for audiences and gamblers and high risk situations. Westerners, we're not tied to any of these things. It's not our culture. So it's like
Oi.
it's like saying that someone from
อย่างนี้มันแตก
ใช่
you know
He's saying you
China
can do
is
both
brave
or not?
enough to do something that all of us would be culturally constrained by to do in New York City or something. Like you're not constrained by the culture.
It's a knockout because it comes to the jaw rather than like cutting it.
So his elbow, when he does that turnaround, he's actually coming up rather than over. And that's getting knocked up like this is very much a knockout.
สอนทีนี้ต้องมาสอนแล้วค่อยเอาเงินไปแบ่ง
แน่นอน
He's inviting me to come train with him anytime I want, which is very, very nice because I would definitely like to come train with him. He's a non-scary version of Ajahn Surat. Ajahn Surat's very scary.
ปั๊บ
Boran.
Look at him just
Boran.
โอ้โหเผ็ดทั้ง
can throw as many things as he wants. He's just slowly coming at me and I know it's trouble.
ปัง
ก็ต้องบังไว้
See how relaxed he is?
ปั๊บ
Ugh. When hitting him hurts you, this is like total old school. Look at how he's just kind of like, his eyes bothering him, and he's just parrying me and rubbing his eye at the same time. Because he's so
Oh,
ning
that's
and
beautiful.
so relaxed.
He kicked you out of his bar,
Yeah,
his leg bar.
he barred it first and then he just came up with it.
Yeah. So he barred me so that I couldn't throw my kick, and then he just like launched his kick out of it.
Ah, you have no shoulder.
It looks like he's not
อันนี้
moving.
ชอบมากเวลาจะไกลแล้วมันเวลาปั๊มแล้วแล้วก็เตะขา
แล้วเอามือดันไว้
ใช่
You have no
See how he
shoulder.
kind of winds
No
it?
shoulder movement.
Like his knee comes forward, and then he like winds his
ซีเซอร์น้อยค่ะ
heel out the side.
มวยโบราณเขาจะท
อ่า
ำคนที่เก่งคือ
So he's saying that there's an old fighter who used to do this, and I'm like, which Inouye? Because Dieselnoy told me which Inouye used to do it. And then he's like, no, it was an old fighter, he was a champion.
ไม่
And
ใช่
so Kevin and I are like, Tong Bai.
อาจารย์นี่แหละ
And he's like, no, it's not Tong Bai. Tong Bai had amazing leg kicks. He was from like the 60s and 70s.
เป็นเข็ม
And then he says he's from Karat.
จำไม่ได้ มีเข็มขัดอะอยู่โคราช
He said he had a belt,
มวยโคราช
and he's very smart.
ไม่สมัย
And so I'm thinking before, I'm thinking like older than Bangsen.
He said there was someone of his era who was amazing at this from Karat.
But this is after Bangsen's era, and we finally figured out, not Tong Bai,
ไม่ใช่เป็นธงชัย
Tong
ใช่
Chai.
Tong Chai.
Tong Chai.
ใช่
Tong Chai was fighter of the year in like 2001.
ใช่
He was a fighter in the 90s, but he fought for a long time. He had amazing, hard leg kicks. His Ajahn Metprik is in the Muay Thai Library, and you can see where he learned those leg kicks, because Ajahn Metprik is like all about them.
He doesn't turn
But it's
it
very cool
Maybe-
that
maybe-
Bangsen like had this thought of who this person was, and Kevin and I are like Rolodex, and we're able to find who he was talking about through our own references.
ชกพวกขาวชนิดซอพื้นจิตคือนี่ผมน็อก11 ไฟต์อะ
So now he's telling the story of how he got into boxing is that he knocked out 11 fighters in a row,
เล่นก่อนแล้วก็ไปชก
and then one Song Chai came and was like, we're going to take you into boxing.
แพ้แตกอะ
เลิก
WBC ที่แมนเชสเตอร์
เพื่อไปชกโอลิมปิกใช่ไหม
So,
โอลิมปิก
สุดปี
ไม่ได้ไปคือติดทีมชาติโอลิมปิก แต่ผจญไปก่อน เพราะว่าน้ำหนักไม่ได้
อ๋อ
น้ำหนัก
So he couldn't do the weight for the Olympics, but he fought amateur and then he went and fought professional.
okay.
Okay.
All right, so this is just going to be
อาจาร
me
ย์ตัวนี้อายุเท่าไหร่คะ
translating a bit.
57 ปี
57
So Bangsen is 57 years old.
เริ่มมวยไทยอายุเท่าไหร่
เริ่ม12 ปี
He was 12 years old when he started
ใคร
Muay
เป็น
Thai.
ครูเอก
ครูคนแรกนะครับ
ใช่ค่ะ
อาจารย์ฟ้าประกอบสิงห์สามเหลี่ยม
อยู่ที่
So
หมู่บ้าน
Ajahn Fapakop was his first trainer, which was near where he lived in Khon-Kaen.
แล้วก็ทำไมเริ่มมวยไทยพ่อชอบหรือเป
So
ล่า
I was like, why did you start fighting Muay Thai? And he said, my dad really liked it.
กรรมการห้ามมวย
His dad was actually a referee on the ring, and he used to go sneak and watch his dad be a referee,
แล้วก็
and he loved it, and he's like, I want to fight.
12แล้วก็ชกอายุเท่าไหร่
ก็ 13 ก็ชกแล้ว
So I asked him how old was he when he fought, if he started when he was 12, and he said about 13, but he's like, actually my first fight was when I was
แล้วก็
8.
ชกก่อนที่ซ้อม
So in Thailand you fight,
ใช่
and then
นี่เป็
you
นปก
start
ติ
training.
สำหรับคนไทยไหม
ใช่ปกติคืออยากชกก็ขึ้นไปชก
แล้วก็เวลาเข้ากรุงเทพอายุเท่าไหร่
เข้ากรุงเทพก็ 10
So when he came down from the provinces, he was about 17 years old when he entered Bangkok.
กี่ไฟต์ปานนอกประมาณ
And I asked him how many times he fought in the provinces,
จริงหรือ
and he said more than 100. So between 12 and 13 to 17, he
แล้ว
had
ก็
more
เว
than
ลา
100
เข้ากรุง
fights.
เทพชกกับใครชกกับ
I asked him who he was fighting when he got to Bangkok, if they were very strong fighters, and he said, yeah, they were already good. They were already good fighters when he got to
จริง
Bangkok.
หรือ
ใช่
แล้วก็ที่บ้านนอกมีการพนันแล้วก็
But I asked him, was it different than
ดู
how
เยอะ
he
ใช่ไหม
fought in the provinces? And he's like, no, it was the same. It was the same kind of
เรา
fighting.
จะไปชกแถวเพชรบูรณ์สุโขทัยเราไปชกทางเหนือ
So he was saying that he had to get really good and had to beat everyone in the provinces before he came to Bangkok. So then when he came to Bangkok, those were all people that had beaten people in their
ครั้งแร
provinces.
กเลยครับ
ใช่
ครั้งแรกก็ประมาณ 3,000-4,000
โอ้เป็น
So his first kadua, his first fight purse when he came to Bangkok was about 3,000 baht, which was pretty
มากกว่า
small.
มากเป็นหมื่น
But then as he got better and he got a name for himself, it was about 10,000, which is pretty good, like median level fighter.
11 ครั้ง
รังสิตบ้างลุมพินีบ้าง
So I'm like, where were you fighting when you beat 11 people with knockout in a row? And he said it was at Rangsit and Lumpini
เชียง
and
รายน้อย
Rajadamner and all
น
over.
รงศักดิ์เขาสนิทสอเพลินจิตอย่างนี้ครับแล้วก็
So he fought lots of fighters. He had Sorpunjit fighters, but the final person he knocked out was Cherry, who's also from
เราเป็นคน
Konkan.
ที่
ครับ
11 แล้วก็เวลาชนะนกเชอรี่เปลี่ยนไปมวยสากล
ครับเขาให้
So
ไป
once
ช
he'd
ก
knocked out
สมัคร
Cherry,
เล่น
One Sung Chai came and was like, we're taking you to
แต่
boxing.
เราไม่ได้ไปโอลิมปิกหรอกแล้วก็เป็นติดทีมชาติ
ชอบมวยสากลไหม
I asked him if he liked
Kitu Muay Thai
boxing.
คิดถึงมวยไทยว่า
He said, I
มวย
like
สากล
it, but I
มัน
also
ยาก
missed
มวย
Muay
ไทย
Thai.
มวยสากลมันจะเต้นตลอดขาฟุต
He
เวิร์ก
said,
ตลอด
boxing is very hard because you have to dance all the
เวลา
time.
เป
You
ลี่ย
have
น
to
ทำ
move
มวย
all
สาก
the
ล
time.
ใครสอน
แต่ก่อนก็มี
I said, when you changed to boxing, who taught
พี่
you?
มันสอจิตพัฒนาคนแรกคนสอง
So
ก็อาจารย์
Sorpunjit
สุรั
was
ตน์
first
เสียงหล่อคนสามก็อาจาร
Then
ย์
Ajahn
สุ
Surat,
ใจสัพพลิก
ครับแล้วก็ทำกี่
and then
ปี
he had another
ประมาณ
Ajahn after that.
มวยสากล
ชุก3-4 ปีนะ
โอเคแล้วก็กี่ไฟ
So he fought for about 3 or 4 years
ชุก
in
19 ไฟ
boxing.
19
About 19 fights, which is a lot because you only fight once every 3 months.
เพราะว่า3 เดือนทุกทีหนึ่ง
เด้อ
Look at his face when he's talking about fighting once every 3 months.
แล้ว
It's
ก็
like, this
เว
is
ลา
not like Muay
ทุก
Thai.
โซนทรดแต่ว่าเวลาไปชกเป็นไม่บอยรู้สึกไม่มวนกันมวยไทยรู้สึก
So I'm like, what did that feel like if you had to train hard all the time, but you
เรา
fought
ต่อยหมัด
infrequently?
เวลาเราไปต่อยมวยสากลเราต่อยหมด
And he says it's very hard in boxing because in Muay Thai, when you're Muay Mat and you punch someone hard, they go away from you.
เจ็บไหม
In boxing, when you punch someone hard, they stay right in the pocket. And he's like, this hurts, and it's very
ทั้ง
tiring.
ไตไปหมดแล้ว
อ๋อ
He said
เว
his
ลาอา
body
จารย์
hurt
ชก
all
ม
the
วยสากล
time.
ชนะนกมวนกันมวยไทยไหม
ถ้านอกก็น็อกส่วนมากจะน็อกแหละ
So I asked him when he was a boxer, did he knock out people as much as he did in Muay Thai? He's like, I knocked some
แข็ง
people
แรง
out.
ที่ฟิลิป
แข็ง
ปิ
แร
น
ง
ส์
มาก
But he said that
เวลา
the
อา
people
จาร
were
ย์
very
เป็น
strong.
มวยไทยแล้วก็ไปเรียนกับมวงสุรินทร์มวยหมัดเยอะใช่ไหม
ผม
So he
มา
also
จาก
trained at
บ้านนอก
Muang
ผมก็มา
Sarin,
อยู่
which
เมือง
is
สุรินทร์
known for its heavy-handed
มี
fighters.
สำราญศักดิ์ประยุนศักดิ์มีหลายคนอยู่ มีสามารถมีข้องธรณีอยู่ด้วยกัน
He said Samart and Kong Torni were there, Wang
แล้วก็
Chanoy was
สอ
there,
งม้วนกัน
ซ้อมเหมือนกัน
Samran
มา
Sak
ใหม่
was there.
หน้าดิบวมหมดลูกนวมเขาจูเขาไม่
He
ได้
said his face was swollen all the
สู้เขาไม่
time
ได้เราเป็นมวย
from
บ้านนอก
training boxing.
เวลาชกมวยสากลเมากว่าใช่ไหม
มวยสากลเมาดีนะบาง
เมา
คน
เย
I
อะ
asked him, do you get more like rung when you fight boxing? And he's like, oh, you're always rung when you fight boxing. Like always drunk is what they call it.
ชอบโซนมวยไทยชอบโซนมวยสากลทั้งสอง
So I said, since he knows both Muay Thai and Muay Sagon boxing, which one does he like to teach?
มวยสากลนี่มันจะเหนื่อยมากนะ
He says
มันขาไม่ได้หยุด
boxing makes you very, very
แล้ว
tired,
ก็
and
คิ
he
ดว่า
likes
เวลา
teaching
เรียน
Muay
มวย
Thai
สากล
better.
มันทำให้
But he'll
เป็น
integrate
กว่าม
little
วยไทยไหม
pieces.
แล้วก็ทำทั้งสองสำหรับตัวเองทำทั้งสองแล้วก็ทำให้
So I said, did you think that your boxing made your Muay Thai
เรา
better?
เอามวยสากลผสมมวยไทยเราพัฒนาเอา
รวม
He
กัน
says, putting them
เพ
together,
ราะว่าสมัยก่อน
they improve each other.
เรา
So
บอก
Muay
ว่า
Thai
ยุค
improves
ของ
boxing,
ภาษาอังกฤษ
boxing
เราบอก
improves
ว่า
Muay
Golden
Thai.
Age มีหลายคนที่เป็นมวยไทยแล้วก็เปลี่ยนทำมวยสากล
So I'm saying in the golden age, there were a lot of fighters who went from Muay Thai into boxing, and this doesn't really happen as much
ม้วน
anymore.
กันมันดีใช่ไหม
ครับ
ทำให้ up
I'm asking, do you think that fighting now would be better if there were more fighters going into
ดู
boxing
มวยไทยตรง
also?
นี้ไหม
He nodded.
ชอบใคร
I asked him, do you watch Muay Thai now? And he says, I watch it.
ชอบมวย
I
ที่
said, what do you watch?
เดินมวยหมัดมวยอะไรเนี่ยครับมวยแข็งแรง
He's like, I like
ผมไม่ชอบ
Muay Mat
ฝีมือ
fighters. I like strong fighters.
มวยคือมาบัวใช่ไหมนักบัว
ปวดหัว เวลาเขา
He
เวลา
said watching female fighters
ช
gives
ก
him
มวย
a
หมัด
headache.
ที่เดินแข็งแรงต่อยให้น็อก
He likes
คือบางทีมัน
strong
บางทีมา
forward
กรรม
fighters.
การให้แพ้อย่างเงี้ย
เออ
พวกมวยฝีมือมวยอะไร คือเราชอบมวยหมัดต่อยน็อกเอาน็อกเอาไปเลย
ใช่
ไม่ต้องตัด
So he's saying
นับ
it's
นับ
hard as a Muay Mat fighter to win on points, and so knocking people out is a better
ราย
option.
การอะไรชอบแบบสุขใคร
Ask him what he likes to watch now, like which program he likes, which
ชอบ
promotion.
ดูช่องสามช่องไหน
And in Thailand, you say what channel you watch rather than the
ใช่
promoter. So he says channel 3, which is
พัช
Om
ริน
Noi.
ผมก็ดู
ส
ผม
นุก
ก็ไปดูกับเขา
ใช่แล้วก็ไปดูมวยจังหวัดไหม
Ask him if he ever goes to watch fights in the provinces, and he's like, not really. When I watch fights, I go with my fighters, and his fighters don't really fight in the provinces.
Wait, what about when he trained with Arjun Sarat?
What about it
When did he do it? How long he trained?
Oh he talked about it
Oh, he did?
แล้วก็
Oh.
เวลาอยู่กับอาจารย์สรัตกี่ปี
2 ปีแล้ว
โอ้หนั
So
ก
he stayed with Ajahn
What did he
Surat for
say?
2 years.
years.
That would be
2
a
years.
long time
สอง
with
ปีกับ
Ajahn.
อาจารย์
How old
สรัต
was he?
เป็นแบบ
2
10
years.
ปี
How old
คือ
was
อยู่
he?
ด้วยกันแบบถูกกันดีอ่ะเขาเรียกแกกับผมมาถูกกันดีกับอาจารย์
He said he's never been more
อาจาร
tired
ย์อายุเท่าไหร่
than training with
เวลา
Ajahn
เรียนกับ
Surat.
อาจารย์
ตอนนั้นผมยังเป็นรองแชมป์โลกอยู่อายุประมาณ
He said at that time he was a
22
contender
23
for the world
ปี
championship.
23 ปีเนี่ย
like 22 to 24
Oh.
คืออาจารย์เขาจะ
So
ดี
he's
มาก
22 to 24 years old when he was with Ajahn
ซ้อมหนัก
Surat.
มากผมก็ซ้อมหนักกับเขาผมก็บ้าซ้อมเหมือนกัน
ใช่เพราะว่าถ้าอาจารย์
So he's saying he learned how to train really hard with him, and so now he knows how to train his fighters really hard.
ต่อยหมัดต่อยเป้าต่อยอะไรซ้อมอยู่นั่นนะผมก็ซ้อมแกบอกให้ซ้อมก็ซ้อม
ใช่ค่ะ
ไม่ขี้เกียจ
ใช่ค่ะ
He said when you go to train with Ajahn Surat, you train. You cannot be lazy at his
แก
gym.
จะด่าเราจะไม่มีแรงแกจะด่าช้าอย่างเลือกเกลือจะบอก
Ajah's very good at, in Thai they call it da. It means to like verbally abuse someone. So like he's really good at scolding. So he's like, if you're lazy, if you don't fight well, you get scolded very well. His eyes are so sweet when he's like laughing about something. All right, so this is something that we like to include, which is slow motion capture of these Muay Gao is what you'd call them, old fighters. So Bangsen is going to show us Muay Thai and boxing. But just watching the weight transfer and the efficiency of movement in slow motion is like dance. I love watching where they look and how they correct themselves in movements. Look at how loose his hands are. He does not make a fist even when he's punching, but you can see the accuracy of the power coming from his shoulders and his torso. Oh, in slow motion, you can really see how the whole body works together to create any of these movements, how the punches come from the feet. See how even when he goes back, he immediately springs into a counter. This is what he was teaching me, is that defense and offense are often one movement, or maybe like a momentary delay. Leg kick there. You can see too at times when they reset themselves that they're satisfied. In their head, they're picturing an opponent. And you can see sometimes when they reset themselves they've already imagined the impact of that on their opponent. That contact of shoulder to jaw. Seeing the angles and lines they make, like if you look at the angle of the shoulders compared to each other when he's doing a twist, or you look at how the hip and the knee align. Soft hands. Sometimes on his wind-up, he throws a bit of a strike just to interrupt that gives better certainty that that one he's winding up for will land. I love his hopbacks. Again, the softness on those hands, the openness of the hands for the elbows so that they can slice. And the power coming from the hips and the feet. It's this like sudden enjoyment in these elbows. The way you can see the joy he has in his movements is so beautiful. This is one of the things that's so wonderful about the long form instruction that we put in the Muay Thai library is that you get to see these men, like they cannot help but express with enthusiasm their personalities. It's who they are. Their Muay and their movements expresses them, and they express themselves through it, and it's just this kind of beautiful integrated thing that only video can catch.